Good evening, everyone. My name is Dan, and on behalf of Book Soup, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us for our virtual event with Justin Michael Williams, presenting Stay Woke, a meditation guide for the rest of us. We are so excited and grateful that our bookstore can continue to bring authors and their works to our community during this uncertain time. For regular updates on upcoming events, please feel free to subscribe to our email newsletter. This evening's virtual event will end with a Q&A. To submit a question, please use the Ask a Question button at the bottom of the screen. If you see a question on that list that you'd like for our speaker to answer, please click the Like button, and we will try to answer as many questions as time will allow. Also, please consider supporting our bookstore and Justin by purchasing a copy of today's featured book. Just click on the green Purchase button directly below the viewer's screen. The link will redirect you to our website where you can continue your checkout process. And now a few words about our featured guest. From growing up with the gunshot holes outside his bedroom window to sharing the stage with Deepak Chopra, Justin Michael Williams knows the power of healing to overcome. He is an author, top 20 recording artist, and transformational speaker who is using music and meditation to wake up the world. When he was younger, Justin always wanted to be a singer, but a lifetime of being bullied, teased, and abused made him give up his dream. Then, after a seminal moment with his dying grandmother, Justin woke up, and his debut album premiered in the top 20 of the iTunes charts next to Britney Spears and Taylor Swift. He has since been featured by Billboard, Grammy.com, South by Southwest, and shared on stages alongside some of the most compelling leaders of our time, including Marianne Williamson, Deepak Chopra, and Shaka Khan. With over a decade of teaching experience, Justin has become a pioneering voice of color for the new healing movement. Between his podcast, keynotes, and motivational online platforms, Justin's teachings have now spread to more than 40 countries around the globe. Justin is dedicated to using his voice to serve, to being a beacon of hope for those who are lost, and to making sure all people of all backgrounds have access to information they need to change their lives. He's here tonight to talk about his new book, Stay Woke, a meditation guide for the rest of us. And without further ado, I'm going to turn the camera over to Justin Michael Williams. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the presentation.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here with you all. And whether you are watching this live or you're watching the recording later, I just want to say thank you and welcome. And, the fact that we are here having this conversation during such an important and pivotal moment in our history is revolutionary. And the reason why I say that it's revolutionary is because we are the first generation. And I don't just mean separating us by ages, but the generation of us who are all alive here together on the planet now. We are the first generation with the opportunity to even really think about things like mental health and manifesting and life purpose. And when we step into our power, when we step fully into our power, and when I'm saying we, I'm talking about those of us who believe in equality and justice for all of us. When we step into our power, we have the power to change the world. And I really believe that we are exactly who was meant to be alive at this time. So I thank you so much for joining me and joining us today. And thank you to Book Soup for having me. It's really an honor. The bookstore there is a place that I have frequented many times in my 16 years here in Los Angeles for events and beyond. So it really is a privilege to be here even virtually with you all today. And so as we begin, I think about our ancestors. I talked about us being the generation who has the opportunity to really make a change in this time. And this is not a political conversation at all, so don't worry if you feel it going there. But this is a conversation about us stepping into our power. And I'm going to share my screen in just a moment. And the reason why is I cannot say the word or speak about the word ancestor without talking about this woman. This is my grandmother, who in my family we call Baka. And Baka, it doesn't mean anything. It's not like a special word. It actually was just a really weird little kid. And you know how when you're teaching kids how to say words, they were trying to teach me how to say grandma. And they would go say grand, and I would say grand, and they would go say ma. And I would say ma, and they would go say grandma, and I would go baka. And so she became my baka for our family. And several years ago, my baka got diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and the doctors told her she only had a few months to live. And when this happened, it was a huge shock for our entire family. And I flew home to the Bay Area, to a little town called Pittsburgh, California, where I'm from, in the Bay Area, to be with her. And when I walked into the door, she grabbed me by my hand and pulled me into her room and asked me a question that quite literally changed the trajectory of my entire life. She said, if you were in my shoes and you knew you were going to die in 2 months, what would you do? If you were in my shoes and you knew you were going to die in 2 months, what would you do? And I stopped in that moment and I was like, what are you talking about? What do you even, I was looking at her like, what are you even talking about? You're the one dying. And she just said, stop, get quiet, get still, do that meditation thing you're always talking about, and answer the question. But don't say a word until you're going to be honest with me. If you were in my shoes and you knew you were going to die in 2 months, what would you do? And I closed my eyes, and all of a sudden I felt this well of emotions come up, and I just blurted out and said I would quit every single thing that I'm doing and I would record an album. I would do music. And the thing is, I had always wanted to do music ever since I was a little boy. But I let all the kids who teased me at school about being gay, about being different and growing up at the hood, and all these circumstances make me think that I sucked at everything, and I stopped myself. And I think we all, excuse a little noise, it's my neighbor's dog. And I think we all have these things. We all have these moments where we have these dreams that we can see for our lives, but we stop ourselves. And whether it's about our body or our relationships or our money or our art or our work or our well-being or whatever it is, we stop ourselves because sometime when we were younger, somebody told us that that dream we have is not for us. You know, it's not for us because we're too fat or too old or too ugly or too gay or we waited too long or we should have done it before we had kids or we went to college for this so we can't change now. All these reasons why we tell ourselves don't. And so in that moment when my grandmother asked me that question, I felt this quote pop up in front of me. I'm putting the slides back up again for you all. So I felt this quote pop up and there's little Justin. So I felt this quote pop up and it's this. It says, someone once told me the definition of hell. And it's that on the last day you have on earth, the person you became will meet the person you could have become. I want you to feel that with me. On the last day you have on earth, the person you became will meet the person you could have become. And I felt that in my spirit, that I was at a turning point with that in that moment with my grandmother, where I could have continued going down this one particular road where I had started to build my life based on everyone else's expectations. And I know we all do this in our own ways. Trying to change my external circumstances, hoping that it would make me happy within. But really there was this void that could never be filled unless I said yes to the dream that was inside of me. And for context, at that point in my life was like pretty damn good, to be honest with you. So it was kind of a big deal because I had gone to college, majored in marketing at UCLA, started a marketing business when I was 20 years old, was making 6 figures by the time I was 23. I'm 32 now. And I'm not saying this to brag. I'm saying this to say that I saw these two paths. One path was me spending my whole life climbing to the top of this marketing mountain, which I know I would have gotten to the top of because I was an overachiever. And so many of us, we do this. We climb to the top of some mountain that somebody made for us or that somebody put in front of us because it was what they expected us to do. or what we thought we needed to do to be loved or accepted or validated. And so I saw myself sometime later in my life climbing all the way to the top of this marketing mountain and getting to the top and being all the way there at the peak and saying, oh my God, I spent my entire life climbing to the top of the wrong mountain. And so in that moment with my grandmother, something woke me up, and she looked at me and she said, I don't care what you do, just promise me you will record an album. Promise me you'll do it. And so because you don't break promises to Baka, I did it. And it was a journey. You know, it was a lot of overcoming that. Anytime we go through something where we're trying to step into our dreams, we have to overcome that critical voice inside of us, that voice in our heads that says, oh, you're not good enough, or, you know, all the crap we say to ourselves. And after really battling with all of that and using my meditation practices and all of my other practices to push through, I'm so grateful to say that I put out my album, which Dan mentioned in the beginning, which charted in the top 20 of iTunes. There's me right there next to Britney Spears and Taylor Swift and Meghan Trainor. And I was screaming like a little girl when that happened. It was such a huge moment for me and for my family. And I share this with you today, not to say, oh, if I can put out my album, you can too, because that's not really what this is about. I share this with you today because the reason and the way that I was able to actually go from being a young boy who grew up in a home with gunshot holes on the outside of my house into living a life that was fully aligned with the purpose and the dream that was really set up for me, was the practice of meditation. And a lot of us think that meditation is a practice that's here to help us relax, that's here to help us calm our minds or be zen or whatever. Sure, it might do that every once in a while, but most of the times that's not what it's about. Meditation is not about relaxing. Meditation is about becoming more alive, becoming more connected to your passions, more connected to your emotions, more connected to the essential nature of who you really are and who you were meant to be. Because when we get quiet enough, one of the quotes that I always like to say and that I always use is that, and this, whether you're religious or spiritual or not, or science or whatever, this is one of the quotes in the book, is that I say that prayer is when you're speaking to your source of higher power, whatever name it might go by. And meditation is when you're listening to the messages coming back to you, listening to that higher power speaking back to you. And so many of us spend so much time asking and searching and praying and hoping and wishing and doing all these things. But the answers are right there inside of you. And my mission today, which is going to be, I think, a little bit different than some of the book events you might be used to going to, is to guide us through a short practice. And of course, I'll do a short reading of the book and guide us through a little practice that will help you tap into what I call your unique energy signature. It's something that I talk about in the book. And that unique energy signature will help you change at the level of being, at the level of who you are, so that you can step forward, starting now, pandemic or not, into the life that you were born to live. And I don't say this in a, like a woo-woo Instagram quotey, like step into the life you were born to live. Like, it's not that. It's actually much bigger than that. It's about us grounding into a place within us that is unshakable and immovable. So that no matter what is going on in the world, no matter who is elected as president, no matter what is happening, that we don't go crazy just because the world does. That we have access to that place within us that is unshakable and immovable. And so the practice that we're going to do today and the type of meditation that I teach in Stay Woke in my book is called freedom meditation. And freedom meditation is a style of meditation that fits in with the mess of our modern lives. So many of us try to meditate like monks. And if you've ever been meditating and you're like one of those people who's like, I meditate, but I can't get my mind to stop thinking and it doesn't work, that's because you're doing the wrong kind of meditation. So we're going to break it all down today in our practice. So before we get into this, one of the things that's always really interesting, I'm going to go back, pretend you didn't see that yet. But one of the things that's always really interesting is that when people come up to me and I talk to people, or I go to speak or do something and I tell people, oh, I'm a musician. People are like, okay, I get that. Yeah, you look like a singer. Are you a dancer? And then when I tell them, well, I'm also an author and a meditation teacher, they're usually like, well, how did you get into that? Like, you don't look like a meditation teacher. And I get it. Like, I totally understand why. And so much so that when I started my book tour in February, just before COVID, which the tour is now here, we're now here virtual. One of the first stops that I got to go on, which was, I'm so grateful this didn't get canceled, was at Google in the Bay Area. And so I went to go speak at Google. And as I was preparing, I thought, oh, you know what might be really interesting as I'm looking at doing my slides? I wonder how many pages of Google image results it will take me before I find a picture of a black man meditating. Not to mention a black queer man, but just a black man meditating. And before I saw a picture of a black man meditating, I saw this. And while this is cute, right? Like, great, we all love dogs, or many of us do, I guess. Like, really cute. This is a problem, y'all. This is a problem. Because if this dog is more likely to be meditating than me, then we have an issue here. And one of the things that I want to name that feels really important to me is how I got into this. And this is actually something that you won't find in the book exactly. This is one of the many stories. Authors will tell you of the many stories that we have that usually end up having to be cut from our books. And this was one of them for space. So I always love sharing this at my book events. So like I said, I grew up in a home with gunshot holes on the outside of my house and domestic violence and alcoholism and trauma. And we all grow up with our trauma. This is not the oppression Olympics here. We all grow up with our stuff, no matter who we are, that we have to overcome. And when we have to overcome growing up in an environment with trauma, many of the things that they're saying today is the kids growing up today, especially youth of color or people who are in underprivileged communities, are growing up with a level of PTSD that is similar to returning war veterans coming back from Iraq. And there's nothing P or post about it when it's happening day after day. It's present traumatic stress disorder. And I feel like this was kind of describes the environment that I grew up in. And so when you grow up like this, for any of us, we learn to adapt, right? We figure out how are we going to adapt to our circumstances. And we all have different ways of doing this. Some of them look functional and some of them look very dysfunctional. And I was lucky that my adaptation looked functional, but I became what I think many of you will relate to, a chronic overachiever. A chronic overachiever, meaning my success and my self-worth were so intertwined that I didn't know who I was outside of my achievements or accomplishments or things that I was doing, my grades and things that were happening. And so I went on this path checking every single box on the list. Graduated the top of my class in high school, got a full ride scholarship to go to UCLA, have extra money for the first time. I go from living in the hood to living in this ritzy neighborhood in Westwood. Those of you in LA understand, like living in Westwood in a nice apartment. I was buying True Religion jeans when that was like a thing to do with my scholarship money. And, came out of the closet and was going out in WeHo to rage, RIP rage, but, doing all these amazing things. And on the outside, my life looked exactly like I had always dreamed of. Exactly like I had always dreamed of. And I think so many of us have this moment, this reckoning that I had, which is I was sitting there on my bedroom floor in my dorm room at Dykstra Hall at UCLA, clenching my stomach because I had developed an eating disorder. I'm about 6 feet tall. You can't tell here on Crowdcast, but I'm about 6 feet tall. I weigh 160 so pounds now. And my lowest in college was 115 pounds. And I think I was just trying to control, like, what's wrong? Why am I not happy? Why am I not happy? And I'm sitting there on my floor in the mirror in my dorm room, gripping whatever was left of my lower belly. And I had this moment where I said, everything in my life is exactly like I had always dreamed of, and I'm still miserable. And I'm still miserable. What do I do? And I think so many of us have these moments in our lives where we try to change our external circumstances, hoping that if we do enough of the external changing, new job, new car, new house, new relationship, we move, the body, the this, that hopefully one day it's going to make us happy within. But we have to learn, and we know over and over that that's not the way it works. But me at 19, I didn't know that. So I go to therapy because I was so depressed, and the therapist said, well, you should try meditation. And I'm like, meta what? That was literally what I said. You have to remember, this is like 16 years ago. I did not know any Black people meditating. Oprah did not do a meditation challenge. I was like, isn't that worshiping the devil? What is that? And he tells me, about this practice, and I get introduced to this incredible teacher named Lauren Roche, who is an incredible Sanskrit and meditation scholar who took me under his wing and quite literally taught me everything he knew. And when I met with him the very first time ever, after our first practice, it changed the trajectory of my life. The two moments that changed my life the most significantly were the moment with my grandmother, that seminal moment with her, and second, this moment with Lauren. Because in the practice that I did with Lauren that day, we were at the beach in Santa Monica. For the first time in my life, I felt, not just consciously knew, but felt inside of me the possibility of a future where my possibilities were bigger than my circumstances. And I think that's what we need in the world right now for our individual lives and our collective lives. We need to know that there is a future ahead of us where our possibilities are bigger than the circumstances we're in. That brings us hope. And so at the end of that first practice with Lauren and that practice, he said, all right, kid, I want you to try this every day for 2 weeks. And if this works for you, I'll teach you everything I know. And I'm looking at this older man. I mean, you got to imagine, I'm just fresh out the closet, had a ponytail, my eyebrows snatched. I was wearing a deep V-neck, probably highlighter color American Apparel t-shirt. And this is an older white dude, in his 60s, which is, I don't even consider old, but at that point I did. And I'm looking at this man why? You're a world-renowned teacher. Why would you be teaching me everything you know? And he said so fortuitously in that moment, he said, in all my 40 years of teaching, I've never seen someone who looks like you or who's gone through what you've gone through who's been interested in this practice. And one day, I think there are going to be people who need to hear your voice who don't need to hear mine. One day, I think there are going to be people who need to hear your voice who don't need to hear mine. And, because I was a smart-ass little kid, I was like, no pressure, or something stupid like that. But the rest is really history. I ended up apprenticing with him for 3 years, traveling all over the world, speaking, teaching. And then the moment came, where there was the moment for me to share my voice. And it really came in a strong, had already been sharing, but it came in its strongest way, where the impotence for this book came right after the last election. And I'm so grateful to say that after all the years I've been teaching now for about 12 years, that I put out this book, Stay Woke, that has been just the biggest light in my life. And what I feel most grateful about is that the book is, in the endorsement section of the book, we have the leaders in wellness and in activism and in social change coming together in one book to say that this revolution starts inside. And the book has 45 different guided practices for anxiety and stress, and trouble sleeping, and self-love and confidence, and focus and intuition, and social justice and change. And it also teaches you how to actually create a meditation practice of your own that doesn't require any guidance at all. And so the book is really the biggest gift that I can offer you from my heart. And today we're going to do a practice in just a moment that helps, well, first of all, it's an adaptation of that exact same practice, or it's pretty much the same practice that Lauren did with me that day at the beach. And I'm going to guide you through that practice. And at the end, if y'all are good, we have time, I might even sing y'all a little song. I have my guitar right next to me right now, so I might sing you a little song because we put out a song with the book to go on the book tour, which was so incredible. And a quick word about that, about the book tour. You know, right now, obviously, like typically I do a lot of events for bookstores like Book Soup, like this, that's amazing. But one of the things that has been so special to me about this book and this tour is when we left on the tour, I told my publisher, I said, look, my book is called Stay Woke, a meditation guide for the rest of us. And the rest of us are not in bookstores because a lot of the people who need this book, they don't even have bookstores in their cities or in their communities. So what if instead of going to the most privileged neighborhoods in the United States, what if we go there, but also to some of the most impacted? What if we go to high schools and colleges in some of the most diverse and impacted neighborhoods, and we do this big kind of TED Talk meets music concert style event, and we teach all the kids how to meditate, and we give them a free book. And so we actually raised in January and February over $195,000 to go to 10 different schools around the country, of which we did 2, and then COVID hit. But we're actually still raising money to go to more schools, and we're now going virtual, and we're doing a ton of schools this fall, and it's been amazing to me to see how much we can do virtual before we're able to safely do it in person again. And so if anybody feels called, I'm just going to put the link in the chat box here. If anybody feels called to support this tour and support our youth, because I think, you know, we all believe that our youth, especially our impacted youth, really need and deserve this, especially those of them who are growing up with a lot of trauma and abuse and violence around them. It only costs $8 per child to support a student. And you can also try to, you know, sponsor, bring us to your city as well. And the link for that I'm putting here is staywokegiveback.org. And everything is all tax deductible and all of that. So all of that being said, let us jump in to our practice. So I'm going to guide you in just a moment through a very important practice called the Dream Bigger meditation practice. And before we begin, one of the most important things that I want you to know is one of the things that I said right at the beginning of this talk, is that meditation is not about relaxing. Meditation is about becoming more alive, more connected to your passions, more connected to your emotions, more connected to the true essential nature of who you really are. So what that means is when we sit down to meditate, sometimes we're not going to feel good, because meditation is not just about making you feel good. Meditation is about making you feel, period. When I say become more alive, that means we have to be able to paint with the full palette and the full spectrum of our emotional palette and all the colors. We have to hold the capacity and have the resilience to be able to experience joy and sorrow and pain and loss and beauty and celebration and all of it together in one. And our ancestors have been doing this for generations, you know, learning, and we're seeing it now, learning how to hold incredible loss and suffering with the truth that we are all here trying to make the world a better place and doing the absolute best that we can and wanting to do better. And so when we practice, please remember that the goal of meditation is not to get your mind to stop thinking. In fact, that's impossible. And what I always tell people, sometimes people who think they're smart, like longtime meditators, they're like, well, I got my mind to stop thinking. And I'm like, no, you didn't. Because just the idea that you got your mind to stop thinking is what? A thought. So your mind did not stop thinking. Our minds can't stop thinking. And in fact, not only can they not stop thinking, we don't even want them to. We wouldn't want them to. I don't think that's genuinely what we even want. We've just been told by the propaganda of meditation that, oh, you're supposed to want your mind to stop. Why would you want that? Your mind is how you get ideas and creativity, and it's your emotions and it's how we connect. The mind, this not just this thing in our brains, but the mind of our entire being, our emotional intelligence, our physical intelligence. It is incredible, an incredible system. And so I think what we really want is not to get our minds to stop thinking, quote unquote, but to get our thoughts to work for us instead of against us. I think that's what we really want. And this is why on the very back of my book, I have this quote that says, if you can worry, you can meditate. Because it's the truth. Worrying and meditation actually work exactly the same way. And how many of y'all have worried? Raise your hand. I know. Because we all do. And the thing is worrying and meditation work exactly the same way. And all these illustrations that you're seeing are actually illustrations from the book. And they work the same way. Because what happens when you're worrying? You could be doing anything, and your brain will continue to come back to some negative thought over and over and over and over and over again. When we meditate, we're actually asking the mind to do the same thing. We're asking our minds to place its attention on something. But instead of the news or the media or our fears or our worries controlling what our attention is going to, we choose something productive and something positive to send our minds towards, to give our attention to, that takes us into that space of something greater. So with all of that in mind, when we go into our practice, this isn't about stopping thinking. If you try to stop thinking, or if you end up realizing that you're thinking a whole bunch, all you have to do is just go, oops, and come back to the sound of my voice. And we'll begin our practice now. So what I'd actually like you to do is go ahead and get super comfortable for a moment. And when I say super comfortable, what I mean by that is not like church comfortable where you're like sitting all straight and tight, or even like what people think is meditation comfortable, like you have to sit cross-legged with like your back super straight. That's so uncomfortable. Get like actually comfortable. So you can slouch, you can chill. I'm just going to sit up for the video's sake, but get cozy. And then what I want you to do is find something in your space, preferably not the screen, but something in your space that's directly in front of you. And I want you to find one spot. It could even be a spot on the wall. I want you to find something directly in front of you and look straight at it without moving your eyes. So look straight at this point. It can be any point. It doesn't have to be anything special. Straight at it, and try not to move your eyes to the best of your ability. And now, keeping your eyes focused on this one point, I want you to start to expand your peripheral awareness. So that means keeping your eyes focused on one point. Notice how far to the right of you you can see without moving your eyes. And notice how far to the left of you you can see without moving your eyes. And notice, while keeping your eyes still on this one point, how far above and below you you can see without moving your eyes. And start to just expand your vision, keeping your eyes straight on this one point. And notice if you can take in any colors or textures or light patterns in your space. How many different colors and textures can you see? Maybe you notice you can even almost start to see behind you a little bit, expanding into spaciousness. And I want you to notice that what we're doing with our eyes right now, focusing on a point, but welcoming in the diversity of our experience. What we're doing with our eyes is exactly the same thing that I invite you to do with your mind when you meditate. We may focus on something like my voice or a mantra or your breath or your heartbeat, just like we're focusing on the spot on the wall. But we welcome in our emotions. We welcome in our thoughts, just like you're welcoming in the colors and textures and light around you. This is natural for us. So that being said, I invite you to place both of your hands over your heart, one on top of the other. Take a full deep breath in. And on the exhale, allow your eyes to gently shut, if you feel comfortable doing so. And on the count of 3, I want you to exhale everything out of your system through your nose. 1, 2, 3. Exhale everything out and come to completely empty. And now slowly to my count of 3, inhale for 1, 2, 3. Hold for 1, 2, 3. Exhale 1, 2, 3. Give yourself permission to just slow down. There's nowhere to go. Let yourself be here. Let's do it again. Inhale 1, 2, 3. Hold for 1, 2, 3. Exhale 1, 2, 3. Last time. Inhale 1, 2, 3. Hold for 1, 2, 3. Exhale 1, 2, 3. Now just breathe normally. And I'm going to invite you now into a short visualization. With me, I'm going to guide you through every step, so don't worry. And as we visualize, I want you to remember that some of us visualize with images in our minds, meaning we see pictures when we imagine things. But some of us don't see pictures that well at all. It might be fuzzy or blurry. You might not see pictures. And if that's the case, I want you to remember that some of us visualize with sound, meaning we hear things in our minds, or taste or smell. We smell or taste things while we're visualizing or imagining, or even kinesthetically with our body, we feel things like a temperature change, or even with our emotional state. When you imagine, you feel with your emotions instead of your eyes. So welcome any combination of those things that come up, even if it's fuzzy or incomplete. It's not all about seeing it. It's just about noticing. So let's begin. I want you now to imagine a future version of yourself who is living the life of your dreams. A future version of yourself who's living the life of your dreams. And just welcome in the sounds. This is real life and my neighbor's dog, so just welcome it in. It's all good. And as you're imagining this future version of yourself, I want you to imagine a version of you who has the body you've always wanted, the house you've always wanted, the relationships you've always wanted. Everything is exactly how you've always wanted and dreamed of. And if that feels impossible, good. Because if we can't think beyond our current circumstances, we'll never be able to live beyond them. So imagine this future version of you. And you might have multiple images kind of shuffling in front of your mind. And if that's the case, that's okay. See if you can land in one place. And notice in this vision today, are you indoor or are you outdoor in the vision? Where is your future self? Inside or outside? What color might you be wearing? Is there anybody there with you in the vision? And what's happening in this vision that indicates to you that you are indeed living the life of your dreams? What's happening in the vision? And now I'd like you to scan around yourself in this vision and notice if you hear anything, or if you taste anything or smell anything. Do you feel anything, a temperature? And what emotion is that future you experiencing there? Just notice what you notice. And now I'm going to ask you a question. And I want you to answer this question using 1, 2, or 3 words. And I invite you to type it into the chat box if you'd like afterwards as well. keeping your eyes closed and staying in this space, here's your question. As you imagine and look at this future version of you who's living the life of your dreams, what energy do you need to cultivate more of in your life now to become the person you see in your vision? 1, 2, or 3 words. I'll ask it again. What energy do you need to cultivate more of in your life now, today, to become closer to being that person you see in your vision? And whatever word or words you chose, I want you to just repeat those words in your mind a few times so you remember them. And then imagine for the next few breaths, you're going to just inhale and exhale for the end of this practice. And I want you to imagine that on the inhale, you're literally covering and bathing yourself in the energy of your words. You might even imagine the words become a color or a texture if that feels good to you, or you just keep them as words, whatever works. All of it's fine. Just inhale and imagine the energy of the words like you're taking a shower in it that's covering every crevice of your inner and outer body, filling you up with exactly what you need. And then on the exhale, start to imagine sending and radiating the color of that energy out into the world to everyone who needs it. So we inhale, the energy fills us up. And we exhale, and the energy goes out to all who need. 2 more times. Inhale and exhale. And last time, inhale and exhale. And when you're ready, I invite you to open your eyes. So just notice how you feel and how that felt. That was about a 10-minute practice. And if you feel called or comfortable, I invite you to type in anything that came up for you or your words in particular into the chat box. And what I want to say right now is I want to describe to you how important what we just did actually was. It might sound simple, but what you just created is these words are what are called your unique energy signature, also known as a mantra. And so many times in meditation, and I love that, Daniel, enthusiasm, discovery, and peace. Beautiful. And what happens so many times in meditation is we are taught to look outside of ourselves, to ask, what is it that we need to be well? So we have to go to a guru or an app or some person or a book to say, can you tell me what I need? Hey, I'm like not doing good. Can you tell me what I need? And there's nothing wrong with having teachers or mentors or gurus or whatever it is that you have, or going on apps. But the real point of meditation is to realize that the guru is within you. And so often we're told that we have the answers inside of us that we need. But with the decolonization, or really the colonialization of our meditation practices, what we've been taught to do is to constantly look outside of ourselves. So we have to keep buying things and paying for things and doing things so that we can find out what we need to fill or fix this thing that we're being told is inherently broken. But you are not broken. You know exactly what you need. Just like you said here, brother, enthusiasm, discovery, and peace. And so let me describe to you why these words are important. Some people's words are going to be peace. Some are going to be love. Some will be passion. Some will be calm. Some will be safety. I've had a few people even say Beyonce. I actually have an I am Beyonce meditation practice in the book that is a much deeper than it sounds. But it's pretty profound what comes up for people when, how often, I would say at least once a month, somebody says their mantra is Beyonce. And what I want to tell you is this. Basically, what just happened is I said, number one, who are you now? And I said, who do you want to become? And ultimately, the question that I asked, what energy do you need to cultivate, identified the gap There's a gap between who you are now and who you want to be and who you see yourself being. And if you see it in yourself, if you see yourself with this body or this dream or this partner or this house or this thing, it's not put inside of you because it's impossible. It's not put inside of you because of torture to just make you yearn and long for no reason. It's put inside of you to help aim and direct you towards your purpose and your mission and what you deserve to be living in this life. And what's most important is not our vision coming true exactly as we see it. Listen to me carefully. What's most important is who we become in pursuit of our vision. That's what's most important. Who we are becoming as we go that direction. Because truthfully, our visions come true. Usually we get exactly what we want, but it comes totally different than we could have ever expected. And I'm sure you've experienced this in your own life. And so what we did is we said, all right, here's you, here's who you want to be, what's in the gap? And notice I didn't say, what do you have to do to fill the gap? It wasn't about doing, it's saying, who do you want to be? And the being is where the energy comes from. And so when you spend time meditating and filling yourself up like we did for even just a few breaths with the energy that you want to cultivate in your life, when you cultivate that enthusiasm, that discovery, that peace, that confidence, that joy, that safety, that compassion, then all of the doing that you're doing, the results of that doing change. So you can be doing the same things, but the outcome of those things change. A great example people usually relate to quite easily is like dating, or even using like a dating app, right? How much doing, without any puns, how much doing has happened with us trying to be constantly on these dating apps. But until you change at the level of being, you change the energy that you're bringing to it, you're going to end up stuck in the same cycles, meeting the same people or meeting the same person with a different name over and over and over, right? This is what happens because we have to change at the level of being. And this doesn't just apply to our romantic relationships, obviously. It applies to our relationships with our art and with our music and with our body and with our boundaries and with our family and with our money and with every relationship that we have in our lives. If we don't change internally to show up differently for those relationships, then we end up stuck in the same cycles over and over and over. And this is why I teach meditation, to help us break free from the cycles that hold us back from our inherent greatness. And that greatness, that is our birthright. So what I'd like to do now, if there's any questions, feel free to type them in. And I just want to read one little section, a very short section from Stay Woke, and I'm going to actually show it to you on the screen. One of the things that I'm so proud of with this book is people are usually surprised to see how beautiful it is. I had an incredible illustrator. Her name is Victoria Casanova. That's her there with the glasses in the picture that you're seeing on the screen. And the book is full color, very designed. I'll scroll through it in just a moment. But I'm putting it up here because I'm going to read a short section to you that I'll zoom in on here so you can follow along with me. And this is the very first pages of the book. And this is probably my favorite part of the book. So I'm just going to read it to you all now. It says this. It says, we close our eyes. We close our eyes and we can see a life we haven't started living yet. We see the people we know we were put on this earth to be. And we all know that we were born to do something incredible. We feel it inside. We can see the mother we've always wanted to be, the lover we've always wanted to be, the father, the entrepreneur, the dancer, the artist, the actor, the singer, the leader, and the relationship we've always wanted, the business idea we always think about. But we spend so much time sitting on the sidelines waiting for the right moment. We sit and we wait because when we were younger, somebody told us that dream you have is not for you. It's not for you because you're too fat, or you're too old, or too ugly, or too gay, or you're not good enough, you're too skinny, too black, or my favorite, people like us just don't do that. Whatever. They told us we weren't good enough, and we believed them. I have a confession to make. This is not really a meditation book. Yes, I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about meditation, but if you came looking for your typical hippie-type Zen meditation book, you're in the wrong place. This book is for people who are overwhelmed with obsessive thinking, for people who are dealing with so much anxiety and stress that they have trouble sleeping, for people who have felt ashamed, wounded, not good enough, silenced, or marginalized, for people who feel like there's something missing in their life but can't figure out what it is. This book, my apologies, this book will help you pinpoint that wound, heal it, and use it as fuel to live the life you've always dreamed of. This book is about taking action. This book is about getting rid of that stuck feeling that's been gnawing at the back of your mind for all these years. But most importantly, this book is for us, for the people. For my Black brothers and sisters, this is for you. For my LGBTQIA plus brothers and sisters, this is for you. For my women who've had enough, this is for you. For my starving artists and workaholic creatives, this is for you. For my conscious entrepreneurs who want to make an impact, this is for you. For those who have been discriminated against for their otherness, this is for you. For my social justice warriors, this is for you. For my tree-loving planet savers, this is for you. And for all people of color and everyone who is woke enough to understand why I'm pointing that out in the first place, this is for you. And so that is the message. That is who we are and what we're coming together here to do, to overcome the things that are holding us back. You know, and what's interesting is sometimes people ask that, who's the rest of us in the book? But I think we know. And I think given what's going on in the world right now, we know now more than ever. And so I saw that there's one question here. And so I'm going to answer this question, and then I'm going to sing you all a little song to close as well. So let me just take a sip of water. So what advice do I have on staying present when so much of life feels on hold right now? I feel you. And here's the thing. What I had mentioned in the beginning that's super important is that meditation and staying present, like this idea of staying present, what it really means is to stay present with the truth of what is happening. And what a lot of the studies actually show, UC Berkeley, and there's a couple universities in Europe who are also studying this. I use a lot of science in Stay Woke because the science is really important to back up, you know, a lot of what we've been, mystics at least, or indigenous cultures have been knowing for many, many years. And what meditation teaches us to do is to have more resilience. And what they're learning is that people who practice mindfulness are actually more likely to experience what they're calling post-traumatic growth. Meaning, you know, you see certain people go through a huge trauma. Like before the shutdown, I was in Southside Chicago, and I taught to 56 women who had each lost a child to gun violence. I mean, just unimaginable horror. Some little kids, even like young children, 6 years old, you know, stray bullets at their front of their house. Just a nightmare. And there's people who go through incredible trauma. And some people grow from it and come out stronger and find purpose and meaning. And some people get completely broken down, sometimes forever. And so what they're finding is that mindfulness, meditation, is actually an intervention, or a tool rather, that can be used to help you be more likely to experience post-traumatic growth and to have more resilience. And so right now, what we're being asked to do with being present doesn't just mean feeling love and light. It means being fearlessly and radically present to say, what is really happening? And ultimately, my book, Stay Woke, is not just a book for meditation. It's a book to help us take action. Action for our lives, action for the planet, action for our community, action for one another, and action for people who can't take action for themselves. And so if we're just meditating to like, love and light, that's great. Please continue doing that. We need love and light, prayers, and all the things. But it's not enough. because if it was, the world wouldn't be in the state that it's in. And so I feel that being really mindful and really present means giving yourself permission to hold the full range of what you're actually feeling and not trying to spiritually bypass it or always be positive all the time, because it's not real, right? Again, meditation is not just about feeling good. It's about feeling and feeling all of it. And when we have the capacity to feel all of it, then we have the capacity to become more alive. So with all of that being said, I would love to sing you a little song and then invite Dan to come back on. And this is a song that we released with the book. Oh, I meant to, I really wanted to show you all a little bit of the book, actually. So here is, I'm going to put up the screen just for a moment while I'm getting this ready. And this is, again, Stay Woke. And one of the things that people are usually surprised about is to see just how stunning this book is. You know, I know a lot of us, including me, do a lot of reading on the iPads, but my intention with this book was to have illustrations you'll see that really show all of us, that show an image of meditators and of people like us who aren't just, you know, the white woman sitting on her yoga mat with a white light around her meditating, like a practice that really shows how dynamic we all are and includes us and is beautiful enough that you'd want to kind of keep it out and keep coming back to it more and more. So that's a little sneak peek at what the book looks like. And let's do a song. So I think you guys can hear the guitar. Can you just give me a heads up if in the chat box if you can hear the guitar okay right now? So, perfect. So, with the book, we released a song, and it's called I Am Enough, and it's available on Spotify and Apple Music and all the places that you can find music. And the reason this song is so important, I'll just say this first. The reason this song is so important is because what is true is that no matter how much we meditate, how many books we read, or how many podcasts we listen to, or how many episodes of NPR we listen to, or TED Talks, or whatever it is, there's always going to be that child inside of each of us who just wants to know that they are enough. Not for what they do, but for who they are. And I think back to that moment with my grandmother, you know, and thinking of little Justin and how much he wanted to step into this dream that he thought was impossible based upon his circumstances. And what I invite you to do right now, if you're willing, and this will just take 2 seconds, is place a hand over your heart, and you can even close your eyes if you want, and imagine a childhood version of yourself. We did the future version, but imagine a childhood version of you at any point in your youth, any point when you were younger than you are now. And notice this childhood you, what are you wearing? The dog is like right on time every time I meditate. Are you indoor or outdoor? And what kind of environment do you imagine this child in? Neutral, positive, negative, good, bad? And most importantly, what did that childhood version of you need most at that moment in time? What did they need? And right now, we tell that child inside of each of us, you are enough. I will not give up on you. I got you. I love you. You are enough. And not just for what you do, but for who you are. And so this is a prayer and a dedication to them. This is I am enough. And the chorus is, I am enough, I am golden, baby, yeah. So if you feel inspired to sing along. Little boy, don't cry. You've been in pain enough, no. Little girl, don't hide. You're finally safe enough, no. One day I'll look into your eyes, show you you don't need to hide behind disguise, no. Spread your wings, you're terrified. Don't be afraid, you're born to fly. I'm by your side, yeah. I am enough. I am golden, baby, yeah. I am enough. I am enough. I am enough. Oh, I am golden, baby, yeah. I am enough. I am enough. Oh, little girl, it's alright. You've taken the blame. Enough, no. Little boy, don't hide. You've been ashamed. Enough. One day I'll look into your eyes, show you you don't need to hide behind disguise, no. Spread your wings, you're terrified. Don't be afraid, you're born to fly. I'm by your side. Here we go, say I am enough, hey. I am golden, baby, yeah. I am enough, hey. I am enough for your heart, come on. I am enough, oh, I am golden, baby, yeah. I am enough. I am enough, no. I am enough. I am golden, baby, yeah. I am enough. I am enough, oh, I am enough. I am golden, baby, yeah. I am enough. I am enough. Oh, you are enough. You are golden, baby. Yeah. You are enough. This is for the child inside of each of us. Sing it like a prayer to yourself. You are enough. You can even whisper it. You are golden, baby. Yeah. You are enough. One more time. You are enough. You are enough. You are golden, baby. Yeah. You are enough. You are enough. Last time for your heart. Come on. You are enough. You are golden, baby. Yeah. You are enough. Last time. We're gonna go till we are enough. We are enough. We are golden, baby. Yeah. We are enough. Hey, this is our moment. We are enough. This is our time. We are enough. We are golden, baby. Yeah. We are enough. We are enough, no, we are enough. We are golden, baby, yeah. We are enough. This is our moment. We are enough. This is our time. We are enough. We are golden, baby, yeah. We are enough. We are enough, no. Ooh, ooh. I am enough. I am enough. You are enough. You are enough. We are enough. We are enough. We are golden, baby. Yeah. And really my message is, and Dan, you can come back in, you know, no matter what you're going through, no matter what color your skin is, no matter who you love, no matter how much money you have in your bank account or not at this time, that you are enough. You are worthy of this life and the gift of this life and all that is your birthright. And so I thank you and I honor you for joining me today, and really an honor, Book Soup, to be able to do this with you even virtually today. So thank you so much. I can't hear you. Uh-oh, can you hear me? I can't hear you. Uh-oh. I think something happened.
Can you hear me
Oh, there
now?
we go. I can hear you now. Yes, I can.
Oh,
There we
perfect.
go. Great.
That was wonderful, Justin. Thank you so much for that. That was really great. And it's a great way to start the weekend, too, I think.
Yeah. Thank you.
Um, so just a reminder to everybody, you can purchase the book, center at the bottom of the screen there, Stay Woke. A purchase supports Justin and keeps our doors open at BookSoup, and we greatly appreciate it. Um, Immediately after this live cast ends, it's going to go into the archive. So if you joined us late, you could start at the beginning. It takes about a minute, and then it's going to post. Please share it with friends as well. And the book is gorgeous. I cannot say, and the design of the book is brilliant, let alone what is in it. So I think it's going to make a great gift for the holidays. So I encourage you not only to look at it for yourself, but also as a great gift for somebody that you love and then that needs it. Justin, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. An honor. Much love. And can't wait to see you all in person again when we can do that.
All right. Thank you all. Have a great weekend.
Bye, everyone.